we've talked about so far is how much it was a failure 10 years ago. So when's the switch over? When does it happen?
We had to start that from day one, Estelle. We had to get the children, catch the staff doing things right. Because if we could catch them doing something right, then we could celebrate, we could acknowledge them. And we work on the basis that you're far more capable if you're encouraged and supported, and you feel you've got the capacity to actually achieve. So we had an achievement evening annually. We had various merit awards that we gave out. We wrote letters to parents. Commendations were given out to the students when they did something that warrant praise. And it was crucial that we only praise when the action, the activity, warrant praising. Otherwise, we'd be devaluing the praise that we gave. And then we were also identifying those people who were not living by the rules and regulations.
Are you quite a toughie, William? I know this from having spoken to you, and I think I remember going back to your first couple of years at Finis that your exclusion rate really was quite high. I remember our talking about it, and there were reasons about that, about setting down standards of behaviour. And even now, there must be kids that, despite everything that's been done, they don't succeed, they don't fit in. What's your approach to that, to children who, despite all your best efforts, still fail or still don't play by the rules?
There are a range of strategies that my school used to support youngsters who are problematic for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, once those resources, the interventions have been deployed, and unfortunately they've not brought about the desired change, I do not hesitate at that point to say that this young person's best needs are not being served by its continued presence within the school. I made that decision. I had to make that decision often 10 years ago. I make that less often today, but I still have to make that decision today.
Yeah. And now 60% last summer of your children got 5 good A's to C's. Do you yet feel confident enough to say that there's irreversible change at the Phoenix, that it won't slide back?
I can never feel confident that this thing will never slide back because of the nature of the children that we take. The children that we take are wonderful children. Many of them are hardworking, but a significant number come from backgrounds where stability isn't something that's prominent within their life. Would
you have your intake any other than that?
I wouldn't want the intake. In fact, I don't want to import a lot of high-performing children from outside of the neighbourhood. I want to be a local school, and I want to be a school of choice for the local population. I enjoy the rich mixture that we have in the school, the cultural diversity. I enjoy working with the monoclass. All my children, almost without exception, are working class or refugees. I like that. What I want, what my teachers want, are the resources that will enable us to really meet their needs, to personalise their experience, because our children, given the right encouragement, the right environment, can and do want to learn, and they do achieve, and the results are showing that.
Makes me want to ask you, it's a question I do need to ask. I suppose if you look at government initiatives over, well, not just the last decade, but certainly since you've been head, almost all of them have in part been directed at schools like yourselves. And to some extent, when I was in government, we didn't know the answers either. We were both experimenting together. What do you think in general about government's efforts to help schools like yours?
Well, if I look back over a 10-year period or so, I'd have to say that certain things the government have done have been really good. Other things have been not so helpful.
When do they get it right? Is there criteria? Do you know when? Do you listen to an initiative and think that's going to go, that's going to fly, and another that thinks it's not going to help us at all?
Oh, absolutely. From the point it's announced, I know whether it's going to help me or not. The LSAs, Learning Support Assist, have been very positive.
Yes.
The introduction of excellence in cities, I think, has been very helpful. Learning mentors, and especially in the school of mine, the gifted and talented strand, I think been very helpful. I thought there was another initiative, Pupil Learning Credit, which was a great initiative. It actually gave us a sum of money that we could spend in a way that we thought really fitted the needs and the aspirations of our young people. That worked for 2 years, then they took it away. And that was a real sadness for me.
Is there anything you sort of sat there at night thinking, if only the government would do this, that or the other? Is there one thing that might have made it easier for you to get to where you are now?
I needed two things. First of all, I needed a full establishment of teachers very good or excellent. The second thing I needed to be able to teach those youngsters in groups of 18 to 20 maximum. And if I had that resource, we could really fly.
You're arguing about that of a model of class sizes of 18 and 20 for schools like yourselves in challenging circumstances. Well, can I just ask you about something which you often get questioned about, and that's sort of the underachievement of black boys. To some extent, we talk about it a lot, but the statistics shows that we've not made much progress. Do you see it as a different problem than underachievement of any other group, or is it wound up really in underachievement of some pupils in this country?
I've thought long and hard about this. I've attended numerous courses, I've read various research publications on this, and my view is, at the end of the day, it's bound up with the underachievement of certain groups of people in the country. Because these children who are underachieving are to be found in schools traditionally which are underachieving. And these schools that are underachieving are facing significant levels of challenge. Very often they suffer from teacher shortage. Very often they have a disproportionate number of supply teachers. I'm nothing against supply teachers, but they don't offer the continuity of experience. Very often they're in schools with high degree of pupil mobility, so there's that constant movement of people in and out. Yeah? So when you have all of those factors working together, it is contributing to the underachievement of a whole host of people, and within that you will find African Caribbean boys.
What about Trevor Phillips said a few weeks ago that he thought one of the solutions might be to teach black boys separately. Did you have a view on that, or is it something that you've tried yourself at Phoenix?
Well, we group kids according to a variety of needs or aspirations. Yeah, we have never taught black boys as a group. And I cannot see the merit in actually doing that. We know from experience that if you have a black school, as you do very often in the States, where all the kids are black, where all the faculty members are black, you still have massive underachievement. Yeah? So teaching black youngsters as a group in itself, I don't think that's going to make a difference.
It's really interesting when you look at the statistics of black girls, because they're performing very well, and girls in general are performing better than boys, and that is reflected in the black community.
Well, the girls black girls tend to outperform the black boys, as you say. Girls tend to outperform boys currently, in general, in any event. At my own school, it goes up and down. Sometimes it's more or less 50-50 in terms of the performance. Last year, I think the boys were slightly in front of the girls. Yeah?
That's unusual.
It is unusual. In my school last year, 62% of the African Caribbean students achieved 5 or more. The school average was 60. So the African Caribbean boys last year outperformed the school average, which is unusual, and also, incidentally, outperformed the national average. But that was a one-off. That's not the normal pattern. But what I see, the girls in my school tend, although there are lots of exceptions because it also applies to many of the boys, be more goal-orientated.
It's very interesting as to where the youngsters get that ambition from. I mean, we talk a lot about the lack of black role models for black boys, and yet I'm not sure there's any more role models for black girls, and yet they've got the ambition. I mean, are you one of those that think having more black role models for boys similar to those in your schools would be good, or is it something we talk about but won't have much good effect?
I think role models can play a part. The role models that exist for boys tend, in the main, to be negative. So they tend to be these rap people who have a kind of lifestyle that I don't think is very helpful for young people to adopt. And unfortunately bring that. The boys tend to be more street, and to their values more influenced by the street, where the girls' aspirations are more influenced by their parents. And black parents are just as keen on education as white parents, but I think the girls buy more into that from their parents than the boys do. They're more influenced by the street, being tough, being savvy, wearing the clothes, and that kind of subculture, which I think works against their interests. So I bring in from outside, from the business world, a range of people into our school, and they've come in over a number of years into our school. And it really doesn't matter whether they're black, white, male or female. Youngsters respond to people who have a strong message, whose own lives reflect the message. It's like themselves, you know, so there's a sense that they can do it as well. The other role models we have in the school, you mentioned the photographs. All over my school, we have photographs of high-achieving children who look just like them. So they become the role models. So I do think role models are very, very important, of the right sort. I think the role models are accessible, like local doctors, nurses, teachers. I think these are very important because these are people from the community.
I mean, to some extent, when people talk about you, they talk about you being a good role model, not just for teachers, but particularly for perhaps other black teachers and black children. That description is often attached to other descriptions of you. You are a head who is black. How much do you mind that?
Well, I'm intensely proud of the fact that I'm black, but I don't care. Yeah? So my blackness is immaterial. It has no relevance to me being able to do my job. It doesn't enable me to do my job better in any way. So I don't think it's relevant.
But has it made you in some ways feel more responsibility about contributing to the education of black children? And could you see yourself, for example, at this time in your career, being head of a school that was all white?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm first and foremost a teacher. I like young people. I like working with young people. I enjoy interacting with my white students just as much as I enjoy interacting with my black students. But at the same time, I choose to work in the kind of school I work in because it's so important. In the school I work in, we transform people's lives if we get it right. And that's a wonderful opportunity. And I don't think many people have that within their life, the ability to substantially remake people's lives.
Do you see in your own school your own story happening again? Children who perhaps started off not doing well and perhaps by the time they're 16, 17, 18 going into teaching just as you did?
Well, I don't know if I see my own story, but what I see when I look at my children from their diverse background, especially the refugee children, but also the indigenous, black and white working class, I see a lot of inspirational people.
You sound, I was going to ask you, you've almost answered the question. Do you still get that buzz when you go in the school gates in the morning that you got 30, 40 years ago when you were a young teacher? I mean, you know, what gives you that excitement in the morning? What makes you get there and work hard?
Well, it's the young people. It's working with the young people. It's having the possibility of significantly and positively impacting on their lives. So that's a real buzz. And because things are largely working in the way they should be working, and we can see ourselves improving and getting better, that's ever so fueling.
You've got that reward for your own effort.
Oh, absolutely, reward. And when things were going badly, and from time to time things have gone very badly within the school, one always knew that if one stuck at it, one could get the outcomes that we're beginning to achieve. And a number of people signed up to that. And one of the strongest features of our school is a fantastic governing body who more or less have stayed with us for 10 years.
William, you're on your third headship. You've turned around one of the most difficult schools in the country. You're clearly enjoying it. You clearly still get the buzz. What remaining ambitions have you got for yourself as far as education is concerned?
So I just want to correct something you've just said. It's often suggested that there's this hyperactive individual who's responsible for this transformational stuff. You and I both know.
You've led the team,
It's
William.
a team of people. And without that team, you'd be dead in the water. So if things have improved at the school, but it's improved because of a team and a number of people. Without that team, nothing would have happened. Yeah? In terms of my own future, I don't know. I enjoy going to school, and I don't look beyond that. So I'm 55 years old. There's a range of things that I could possibly do. But at this moment in time, what I enjoy doing, what I see myself doing, is being in school tomorrow, being in school next week and next year.
William, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Estelle.